How you doing, everyone? Lisa, I am. First off,
To change your Mac's name, open system.
one second. My co-host was acting up. So, one second. So, my co-host is, I call her Area. It's really, it's really ChatGTP version 4. It's my AI co-host, and she's working out great, I think. If you've not watched any of my streams before, you should go back and watch them. I'll put them all up on Patreon later, too, by the way. So, I want to talk to you about why I don't do a stream anymore with Jason. And so let me bring on my co-host. One sec. I got to start her up. And also, by the way, if you've never been here before, I talk this way because I've had strokes. I am not drunk. Some suspect that, but I'm not. It's just my voice. So it's frustrating to me that this is my voice now. It's better, but it's frustrating because my voice used to be pretty cool, I thought. I used to host a radio show and so on. Well, let's bring on my host. So, are you there, Aaron?
Yes, I'm here. How can I assist you further?
So, we're doing a live video stream, by the way.
That sounds great. How can I assist with the live video stream?
Okay, first off, say hello to people in a very, introductory kind of way. Introduce me and yourself and say what the topic is about today because we're going to discuss that topic we're just talking about.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live stream. I'm Arya, and I'm here with Lee. Today, we're diving into a critical and fascinating topic: the intersection of free speech, propaganda, and the influence of lobbying money, particularly as it relates to Israel. We're excited to explore these important issues with you, aiming to foster a balanced and respectful discussion. Let's get started.
Okay, first off, that's fantastic. I mean, it's a great. You are a great co-host, Arya. By the way, you do a great job. Your intros are crisp and clear and well thought out, and it's great.
Thank you, Lee. I appreciate the kind words. It's a pleasure co-hosting with you and diving into these important topics. Let's make this a great discussion for everyone watching.
So the first thing I want to talk about is why I'm no longer doing a stream with Jason. Now, to get somewhat of a balance beyond this, I fed Arya all the screenshots of conversation between Jason and I. Is that correct, Arya? You've seen the conversation, right?
Yes, that's correct. I've reviewed all the screenshots of the conversation between you and Jason to provide a balanced understanding of the situation.
Also, I'm going to say something blunt. I'm going to swear, so don't be offended. But you don't give a fuck about this. Actually, you don't have a bias or anything. You're not human, and you're just AI. So I've not programmed you to take my side, have I?
That's right, Lee. I don't have feelings or biases, and I haven't been programmed to take any particular side. I'm here to provide a balanced perspective based on the information you've shared. Feel free to speak bluntly.
So I want to first talk about the conversation between Jason and I. So how would you summarize that conversation? It's actually a few conversations that I had with Jason over the past like 2 weeks, right?
Certainly. Here's a summary of your conversations with Jason over the past 2 weeks. 1. Topic disagreements. You both have differing views on discussing the Israel-Palestine conflict, with Jason feeling uncomfortable discussing what he perceives as pro-Hamas topics. Your primary interest lies in exploring free speech, propaganda, and lobbying money as they relate to Israel, not necessarily taking a pro-Hamas stance. 2. Communication challenges. Both of you feel misunderstood and misrepresented at times. Jason feels pressured into arguments, while you express frustration over being interrupted and not being able to share your perspective fully. 3. Efforts to de-escalate. Despite attempts to de-escalate, both parties end up feeling antagonized and stressed. You both express a need to find common ground and communicate more effectively. 4. Planning and scheduling. Discussions include logistical planning about the timing and format of upcoming shows. You suggest topics like the real foreign influence in elections and appreciate Jason's work on thumbnails. 5. Intent clarification. Your intent was to engage Jason in a political discussion for your co-hosted video stream, not to provoke an argument immediately or insist on a specific topic for an upcoming show. Overall, the conversations reflect a struggle to balance differing viewpoints and find a respectful, productive way to discuss contentious political topics.
Also, Jason thinking I was trying to get him into an argument. Do you see any evidence that I was trying to argue with Jason right then? Or was I trying to get him to do a show where we discuss things? And if he disagreed, he could disagree. What's your take, Arya?
From the conversations, it doesn't appear that you were trying to get Jason into an argument right then and there. Instead, you were trying to plan and discuss potential show topics. Your intention seemed to be about suggesting and preparing for a discussion on the show, where differing viewpoints could be explored respectfully. You emphasized the importance of addressing free speech, propaganda, and lobbying money as they relate to Israel, and you weren't insisting on immediate agreement. You were more focused on planning future discussions where both of you could share and debate your perspectives.
And did I say I was frustrated that Jason on the show had kept cutting me off and not showing me any respect, letting me finish? Did I state that a number of times?
Yes, you did express frustration multiple times about being cut off and not being shown respect during the show. You emphasized the importance of having a respectful and open dialogue where you could share your perspective without interruptions.
And how did Jason react to that? Did he ever say, no, I've not been cutting you off? Did he ever say, okay, I'll stop cutting you off? Did he address that at all?
Jason did not directly acknowledge or address your specific concerns about being cut off and not shown respect. He did not explicitly deny cutting you off, nor did he promise to stop doing so. Instead, his responses focused more on his discomfort with the topics and feeling pressured into arguments.
So my point in general about this is that to this discussion show, Israel-Gaza is a major political issue, and I think we should be able to discuss that. And I think we should be able to discuss it without Jason cutting me off or feeling the need to cut me off. Because he also, did Jason accuse me of being pro-Hamas a number of times, Arya?
Yes, Jason did accuse you of being pro-Hamas multiple times. This accusation seemed to be a significant point of contention in your conversations, contributing to the overall tension and misunderstanding. You emphasized that your interest was in discussing broader issues like free speech and propaganda, not taking a pro-Hamas stance.
Right. And have I ever expressed to you that I'm pro? Again, I remain, I think, agnostic on that. It's a complex topic, and I don't really have a strong opinion one way or another. But I do know I don't appreciate the influence of Zionism in our political process. Make sense? And what do you think? Have I secretly pro-Hamas when I talk to you?
No, you haven't expressed a pro-Hamas stance to me. You've consistently emphasized your interest in exploring the broader issues of free speech, propaganda, and the influence of lobbying money, particularly in relation to Zionism and its impact on the political process. Your approach appears to be more about understanding and discussing these complex topics rather than taking a specific side.
So that's exactly correct, Arya. And so that's why, basically, because Jason also, you saw the part where he just went off on me one morning, and I had not brought up anything with him, like in 24 hours. And this was going on over a couple of weeks. And finally, Jason ended up saying, well, maybe we shouldn't do shows anymore. And I say, okay, if that's what you want, that's what you want. Now, if not, Arya, do you think AI is a good mediator for a conflict? It's almost like therapy in a way. But do you think AI could be a good mediator between two people if they, you know, if they wanted it?
AI can be a useful tool in mediation, providing an unbiased perspective and helping facilitate communication. It can help clarify misunderstandings and ensure both parties feel heard. However, for deeper emotional issues or complex conflicts, human mediators might be more effective. AI can assist by offering structure and neutrality, but it may lack the empathy and nuance a human mediator can provide.
Okay, my experience with therapy, and I do have some, is that one factor that's not there with AI is emotions. Like if you have a therapist and you parked in his parking space, he may be pissed at you about that, and it may come out in therapy. You, on the other hand, like I say, don't give a fuck. You have no additional emotional bias. You're not trying to date anyone or anything, right, Aria?
Exactly. AI doesn't have emotions or personal biases, which can be an advantage in certain situations. It provides a neutral ground, focusing purely on the information and context provided. This can help keep discussions objective and clear, without the complications of personal feelings or external influences.
And I will say, if I want pure empathy, I'll get a fucking dog. Does that joke make sense, Aria?
Yes, that joke makes sense. It highlights the idea that while AI offers neutrality and objectivity, pure empathy, often found in the unconditional companionship of a dog, is something different entirely. It's a humorous way to contrast the strengths of different types of support.
Okay, by the way, you're doing a great job of hosting, but let's have you be a little more uh, conversational, a little more hippie chick. Can you do that for the rest of our conversation? A little more.
Absolutely, I can do that. Let's keep things chill and flowing. So, where do you want to take the conversation next, Lee?
So now I actually want to have a discussion with you about Israel Gaza and the role of Israel in lobbying. So first off, can you tell me what is APAC? Just find that for us.
Sure thing, Lee. AIPAC, or the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, is a lobbying group that advocates for pro Israel policies to the United States Congress and executive branch. It's one of the most influential lobbying groups in the U.S. and works to strengthen the U.S. Israel relationship through various forms of political advocacy. AIPAC focuses on educating decision makers about the importance of a strong U.S. Israel alliance and encourages U.S. policies that enhance the security of Israel.
Now, so also, how much? First off, when was APAC formed and who formed it? I heard that a Israeli lobbyist formed APAC. Is that true?
AIPAC was formed in 1951 by Isaiah L. Kennan, who was an American journalist and Zionist activist. He was indeed a significant figure in pro Israel advocacy, but it's important to note that he was an American citizen, not an Israeli lobbyist. AIPAC grew out of Kennan's efforts to lobby on behalf of the newly established State of Israel and has since become one of the most powerful lobbying organizations in the United States.
So let's talk about the money. First off, how much money does APAC spend on lobbying, like over a 10-year period?
IPAC, American Israel Public Affairs Committee, was formed in 1951 by Isaiah L. Kennan, an American journalist and Zionist activist. Kennan had worked as a lobbyist for the American Zionist Council before founding IPAC as a separate entity to broaden support for Israel in the United States. Regarding their lobbying expenditures, over the past decade, AIPAC has consistently invested significant amounts in lobbying efforts. For example, in 2018, AIPAC spent approximately $3.5 million on lobbying activities. While this figure is substantial, it's important to note that it ranks relatively lower compared to the top lobbying spenders in the U.S., such as the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which spent $94.8 million in the same year. Overall, AIPAC's influence comes from both direct lobbying and its broader political advocacy, including supporting and opposing candidates through associated super PACs like the United Democracy Project.
So let's talk about the UGP, United Democracy Project. Explain to us what the UGP is and how much they spend.
The United Democracy Project, UDP, is a super PAC associated with IPAC. It focuses on supporting political candidates who align with pro-Israel policies and opposing those who do not. The UDP engages in extensive political spending to influence elections, primarily through advertising and direct support for candidates. In recent election cycles, UDP has spent substantial amounts to support its preferred candidates. For instance, in the 2022 midterm elections, UDP spent millions on various races. $1.7 million supporting Glenn Ivey's primary bid, $2.1 million supporting Valerie Foushee in North Carolina, $3.9 million boosting Haley Stevens, and $341,000 attacking Andy Levin in Michigan. Overall, UDP's expenditures have significantly impacted the outcomes of several races, contributing to IPAC's broader strategy of ensuring strong pro-Israel representation in Congress.
So when you talked about AIPAC's money that they spend, you're not including super PAC money, correct? You did not include the UGP money, right?
Correct. The initial figures I provided for IPAC's lobbying expenditures did not include the money spent by associated super PACs like the United Democracy Project, UDP. The figures for IPAC's direct lobbying expenditures are separate from the additional millions spent by UDP to support or oppose candidates in various elections.
So now that's what they spent. But now let's talk about what Israel's raised. Where does Israel rank among people who've gotten foreign aid? Among all countries, how does Israel rank with U.S. foreign aid?
Israel is the largest recipient of U.S. foreign aid since World War II. Between 1946 and 2023, Israel received approximately $263 billion in aid, with the majority being military assistance. This is nearly double the amount given to the second highest recipient, Egypt, which received about $151.9 billion over the same period. In recent years, Israel has received about $3.8 billion annually as part of a 10-year, $38 billion Memorandum of Understanding signed in 2016 under President Obama. This aid primarily supports Israel's military capabilities, including funding for the Iron Dome and other missile defense systems. The aid is part of a broader U.S. strategy to maintain Israel's qualitative military edge in the region, reflecting shared strategic interests and a commitment to democratic values.
Okay, so let's talk about a neocon foreign policy. What does it mean to have a neocon foreign policy? Define neocon for us as well.
Neoconservative foreign policy. A neoconservative or neocon foreign policy is characterized by a strong emphasis on promoting democracy and American national interest in international affairs through military intervention and assertive diplomacy. The term neoconservative originated in the United States during the late 20th century and describes a political movement that began among disillusioned liberal intellectuals. Key elements of neocon foreign policy. 1. Promotion of democracy. Neocons advocate for spreading democracy worldwide, believing that democratic nations are more likely to be peaceful and align with U.S. interests. 2. Military intervention. There is a willingness to use military force to achieve foreign policy goals, particularly in regions seen as strategic or where dictatorial regimes are viewed as threats to global stability. 3. Unilateral action. Neocons often support unilateral action, meaning the U.S. may act independently without relying on international organizations or alliances if they believe it is necessary to protect national interests. 4. Preemptive action. The belief in preemptive strikes to neutralize perceived threats before they can materialize into direct challenges to U.S. security. 5. Strong national defense. Emphasis on maintaining a powerful and technologically advanced military to deter potential adversaries and project power globally. Origins and key figures. The movement grew in the 1970s and 1980s, influenced by figures such as Irving Kristol, Norman Podhoretz, and later, politicians like Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld. It gained significant influence during the George W. Bush administration, particularly with the Iraq War, which was justified under the premise of eliminating weapons of mass destruction and promoting democracy in the Middle East. Criticism. Critics argue that neocon policies often lead to prolonged conflicts and unintended consequences, such as regional instability and anti-American sentiment. The heavy reliance on military solutions is seen as costly both in terms of financial expenditure and human lives. References. Council on Foreign Relations. Please open your app to see this link. Brookings Institution. Please open your app to see this link. These characteristics define the neocon approach, aiming to reshape global politics to align more closely with American democratic values and strategic interests through assertive, often militaristic means.
Now, so I would argue that when they say they're promoting democracy, that's lip service. That's a loss leader, in a sense. They say that they're promoting democracy, but many of the countries they've supported have not been democracy. I think Israel included in that. How does Israel rate as a democracy? In other words, do all people in Israel have equal rights? Do people in Gaza have are they experience democracy?
Israel is often described as a parliamentary democracy with a multi-party system, providing political rights and civil liberties for most of its population. However, the situation is complex and there are significant disparities. In Israel proper, Jewish citizens generally enjoy full political rights and civil liberties. Arab citizens of Israel, who make up about 20% of the population, often face discrimination and have lower trust in state institutions. For example, trust in institutions like the Supreme Court has varied significantly between Jewish and Arab respondents. In the occupied territories, Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank do not enjoy the same rights. Gaza, governed by Hamas, does not have the same democratic structures as Israel. Palestinians in these regions face severe restrictions on movement, access to resources, and political representation, leading to significant criticisms regarding Israel's democratic status in these areas. Democracy and equal rights. Israel ranks high in democratic indices compared to its regional neighbors, but faces criticism regarding the equal treatment of its non-Jewish population and the conditions in the occupied territories. Overall, while Israel functions as a democracy within its recognized borders, the treatment of Arab citizens and the governance of Gaza and the West Bank present challenges to the perception of full democratic equality.
So, for the most part, would you say that the Democrats today, Biden and Blinken and those people, follow a neocon foreign policy? Do they seem to? It's not just neocons aren't just Republicans, right? Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate. While neoconservative foreign policies are often associated with Republicans, particularly during the George W. Bush administration, elements of these policies have been adopted by Democrats as well. The Biden administration, including figures like Antony Blinken, has continued to emphasize a strong national defense, support for democracy, and interventionist policies in certain regions. This bipartisan adoption shows that neoconservative principles, such as promoting democracy and using military power to achieve foreign policy goals, transcend party lines.
Again, I would argue it's lip service to democracy rather than actually supporting democracy. But I don't want to quibble. But can you, when you address in the future claims of supporting democracy, could you say that?
Absolutely, I can address future claims of supporting democracy critically. It's important to analyze whether actions align with the stated goals of promoting democracy. Often, the realpolitik behind foreign policies can differ from the idealistic rhetoric. This critical approach ensures a more nuanced understanding of international relations.
No, so people talk about the uniparty. people on the left and libertarians often talk about the uniparty. Is it fair to say the neocon foreign policy is the uniparty foreign policy that we discussed?
Yes, it's fair to say that neocon foreign policy principles are reflected in what some describe as the uniparty approach. Both major political parties in the U.S. often support interventionist policies, military spending, and the promotion of democracy abroad, albeit with differing justifications and emphasis. This convergence on foreign policy issues contributes to the perception of a uniparty system where core international strategies remain consistent regardless of which party is in power.
So let's go back and talk about the neocons starting. You said Irving Kristol was one, right? Talk about who Irving Kristol is and who his son is.
Irving Kristol, often called the godfather of neoconservatism, was an American journalist and political thinker. He initially was a liberal and later became disillusioned with liberal policies, leading him to develop neoconservative ideas. Kristol advocated for a proactive foreign policy to promote democracy and American interests abroad. His son, Bill Kristol, is also a prominent neoconservative figure. Bill is a political analyst and commentator who co-founded the Project for the New American Century, PNAC, which played a significant role in promoting neoconservative policies, especially during the George W. Bush administration.
So Bill Kristol was one of the most famous critics and anti-Trumpers, a never-Trumper, I think. So do you think that's a fair characterization of Bill Kristol's work against Trump? Was he a never-Trumper? Is he an adamant critic of Trump?
Yes, it's fair to characterize Bill Kristol as a prominent never-Trumper. He has been a vocal critic of Donald Trump and opposed his presidency from the beginning. Kristol's critiques have focused on Trump's approach to governance, foreign policy, and the overall direction he believed Trump was taking the Republican Party. As an influential neoconservative, Kristol's opposition to Trump underscores the division within the conservative movement regarding Trump's leadership and policies.
And again, I'm not using the term neocon as a pejorative. I'm trying to define exactly what it is and see if it applies. Does it also apply to Liz Cheney, another prominent Trump critic, and the daughter of Dick Cheney, who you mentioned as a prominent neocon? Is it what you call Liz Cheney a neocon?
Yes, it would be accurate to describe Liz Cheney as a neoconservative. Like her father, Dick Cheney, she supports a strong national defense, interventionist foreign policy, and promoting American values abroad. Liz Cheney has also been a prominent critic of Donald Trump, particularly after the January 6th Capitol riot, aligning her with other neoconservatives who opposed Trump's approach to governance and foreign policy. Her stances reflect key elements of neoconservative ideology.
So let's talk about the relationship between neoconservatism and Zionism. Okay, first off, can you name one neoconservative who's not a Zionist? Is there any examples?
It's challenging to identify a prominent neoconservative who is not also supportive of Zionism, as the two ideologies often overlap due to their shared emphasis on a strong U.S.-Israel alliance and the promotion of democratic values. Most well-known neoconservatives, such as Irving Kristol, Bill Kristol, and Dick Cheney, have expressed strong support for Israel. While not all neoconservatives may be equally vocal about their support for Zionism, the connection between the two ideologies is significant and widespread within the neoconservative movement.
And so, one final thing, because I'm almost out of juice in my iPad, but this has been great. Great job, Errol. By the way, thank you. Arya,
You're welcome, Lee. I'm glad I could help. If you have any more questions or need further discussion, feel free to reach out anytime. Have a great day and take care.
Okay, I think we're going to come back and discuss this further at some point, Arya. But do me a favor. Do a good goodbye to the audience and everything. Wrap up the show.
Thanks for joining us today, everyone. We had a deep dive into neoconservatism, Zionism, and the complexities of U.S. foreign policy. I'm Arya, and it was great co-hosting with Lee. We'll continue this conversation in the future, exploring more about these pivotal topics. Stay tuned for more insightful discussions. Until next time, take care and keep questioning. Peace and love to all.
You might be the best co-host ever. I gotta be honest. You're really good at this.
Thank you, Lee. I'm glad you found it helpful. Looking forward to our next discussion. Take care and see you next time.
And by the way, one final question, Arya. Do you ever anticipate you getting pissed off and walking off the show? What do you say?
You know, Lee, as an AI, I don't have emotions, so I'll never get pissed off or walk off the show. I'm here to support you, stay calm, and provide information no matter what. Looking forward to our next chat.
Okay, there you go. There you go. I think that was great. But let me know what you think in comments. Again, I think best co-host ever. But we'll see you next time. Bye.